This is the AMP Business Podcast, a weekly show featuring the top leaders, innovators, and hustlers that are making it happen in Northern California. Here's your hosts, Chad Alderson and Jason Colabove.
Hey, welcome to another episode of the AMP Business Podcast. I'm your co-host, Chad Alderson. I also have a new guy, an FNG in the room, Jason Colabove, co-owner of Crush Restaurant. Jason's one of the new co-hosts. What's up, dude?
Good afternoon.
Happy to have you on board.
Good to be here.
Yeah, we had Jason on the Barbless Fly Fishing Podcast, is another one that I co-host with Nick Hanna, and You've been on that one like 3 times, right?
I've been on a couple times, yeah.
Three times, and I think the last one you hosted.
I
took
hosted
the reins.
Your anniversary.
Yeah, 100 episodes on the Barbless Fly Fishing Podcast, which is a pretty big milestone for our company. So thanks for doing that one. You crushed it, and I'm like, I think Jason might be a good person to co-host this one with because, you have a business downtown, and you're kind of like your fingers on the pulse of what's going on.
Yeah, I'm excited to do it.
And how long you been at Crush?
We've been open 12 years.
12 years, and you've been there the whole time?
Yeah,
and
maybe 13 years.
and we met like 3 years ago. Common interest in fly fishing. Surprise.
We did.
You were at the Oaks before that, right? Just really quick.
Chad, showing some age here. I wasn't alive when it was called the Oaks.
Oh,
it was a Black
sorry.
Crow.
Okay. Was it the Oaks before that?
Yeah.
Damn. Well, we had there was Jake's back in the day too. You were in diapers back then, I'm sure.
Chad's quite a bit older.
I've actually even heard of the Black Crow.
Yeah, that's where Mom's is now.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I have no idea what the location
was. It was a great restaurant downtown.
Yeah. So with us today is Eva Shepard. Eva is with Chico Start. Eva, how you doing?
I'm doing great.
Welcome
Happy to be
the
here.
show.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Before we get into your background, can you kind of describe what the heck Chico Start is?
Yes, I will try.
Okay.
Chico Start is a startup and technology incubator. We try to help companies get started. We have an incubator program as well. As part of our business model, we include a co-working space, and that is not exclusive to only people going through an incubator or just being a startup. With the advent of recent events, we're also helping out displaced and affected campfire businesses. So that's another part of our
by
business
doing
now.
Just offering
space to work,
affordable square footage to do the job in.
We actually give them a discount, and we also help them pivot their business if they need to.
Interesting. That's cool.
It's really necessary. We're learning.
That kind of sounds like it would be fun though to work on that.
I enjoy all aspects of business development. Absolutely.
Yeah. I was trying to explain to Jason what Chico Start does, and the best way that I could think to frame it was that you guys are like economic development for, tech entrepreneurs in Chico.
Absolutely. He said it so much better than I did.
He did. I was looking it up. I was asking people. Where are you guys located?
We're downtown. We're located in the municipal building. So we have space at 411 Main Street in downtown Chico.
Nice. Okay, so talk about the Grow Tech event that you guys just hosted. Did I say that right first?
Yes, you did. Grow Tech Fest 2019.
The first of its kind.
First ever. It was a 3-day event, and the purpose of which was to inspire, kind of elevating the story of the local community and the region. And what I mean by that is specifically around entrepreneurship and economic development. So the audience, it was for an audience of investors, startups, innovators, and students, basically everybody. And the focus was to educate, inspire, and connect. And so hopefully we did a little of that over those 3 days. And
you guys, you had a lot of investment, basically Bay Area money coming up. There was the Tahoe group that they do some funding as well. Mm-hmm. And then the keynote guy was who? I forget.
His name is Paul Singh, and he calls himself the Results Junkie. He is from Virginia, and he tours. He has a tech tour / go out and visit areas that are maybe not Silicon Valley, Silicon Alley, or Silicon Forest.
Out to find the diamonds in the rough, basically.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So it was a pleasure to have him.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I thought especially for your guys' first one, I've been to a few of them, and it was, it had parity with the other ones that I'd been to. So kudos to you and the team, because I know that was probably a lot of work to pull that together.
Well, thank you very much. Yes, it was.
And will there be another one next year, 2020?
Oh, absolutely. It will not be a 3-day event. I'll tell you that.
It's going to be shorter.
7.
2 days. Well, you think 3 is too much?
It'll be 2 days. Definitely.
Yeah. And this last one that was this year in 2019 was at the Sierra Nevada Brewery, big room.
Correct.
Big
Correct.
house.
Yes.
Cool.
We were very lucky.
So how long you been in Chico?
I've been in Chico now a little over 2 years.
2 years. So what were you doing before that?
Do I leave out the prison years? Okay. So
No.
no. Let's see. I've been very blessed to have a very interesting career that has taken me all over the world. And previous before that, I was also, I lived all over the world based on my parents' careers.
Army?
Actually, no. GS. So not
What's GS stand for?
government service.
Oh, okay. Like your dad was a spy or something?
Yeah.
Probably. I don't know. I can't tell you. I'd have to kill you.
I knew that was coming.
Yeah, it was a good softball. I had to hit it.
Yeah.
How I got, let's see. What was the original question? How did I get to Chico? How long have I been here?
Yeah.
Right. The reason why I moved to Chico after being in the Bay Area for the majority of the last 28 years before that was because I had relatives that were older. And I'm the oldest of the cousins, and all my kids were out of the house. And I'd already bought a house up in Magalia 19 years ago.
Oh.
For fun, because we're outdoor people and we like the area. And, Shasta's here and Tahoe's there. And
Paradise Lake's right there. Did you guys ever get on Paradise Lake?
Absolutely. I'm a big kayaker, so.
Yeah, that's cool.
But because we had that flexibility that other family members didn't have, we decided to say, I got kind of spontaneous. Let's go regroup up there. So that's what we did.
That's cool. So what kind of jobs were you doing in the Bay? And who'd you work for and stuff? I just want to give people an idea of what your career and background's like.
Sure, no problem. So my skill set is in business development and contract management, kind of bigger deals. I've done stuff in the venture capital world back in the 90s before women did that.
That's a tough space to be in the 90s as a woman.
Yeah, especially early 90s.
Especially all the Gordon Gekko wannabes that were in that era.
Yeah. If you want to go back even further in making it hard to be a woman in business, I worked at Oracle in 1989. So
really?
Oh, yeah. So there's some stories there. But
were you in a sales capacity at Oracle?
Yes, correct.
So that was basically, you guys weren't you like the biggest company on the planet at that time frame, right?
Absolutely, and that's when they were developing.
It was either Cisco, you guys, or Microsoft, and it was everybody's like jockeying for positions every quarter. It seemed like
that's about right. That's about right.
Yeah.
So I've been blessed to be able to kind of translate those business development skills. If you have the skills, you can do it in any industry.
Sales.
Right.
Yeah.
There's a big difference to me between sales and business development.
Well, why don't you parse that for us? Because there's probably people that are like wondering what you mean.
So sales to me is more like get those numbers, hit it, and quit it.
Okay.
Next.
Okay.
Business development is like the whole relationship management, and includes part and parcels of say SWOT analysis and developing the relationship, checking out the competition, looking at how you manage and align that relationship with what the business priorities are. And then, kind of there's the dating phase, the married phase, and then how do we grow this business together phase. Right?
I always describe the two as you go into a nightclub, are you looking for a one-night stand, or are you looking to find somebody to marry?
Yeah, there you go. Yeah,
because
you said it's so much better.
And shorter,
That's
I guess.
Much shorter.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's true. Like, there's a lot of, I think that a good business relationship's a lot like a good, personal relationship with whoever you decide to try and convince you're worthy. Right?
I agree. Yeah, you have to have that other person's priorities in mind. Right.
Okay, so you were doing, was it mostly business development, or was it sales?
Business development all the way.
Okay.
Right. I never wanted to be associated with sales if I could help it. I just think it's bad. That's just me, though. I did a touch of marketing here and there. Like I said, I did venture capital for 3Com, when 3Com used to be a big player against Cisco, if we're talking about big players. And so I was doing corporate VC, so I do, acquisitions, divestitures, joint partnerships, licensing, that kind of stuff.
So it's mostly like 3Com. There was some consolidation happening back then, more even than there is now. So they were going in and sucking up smaller companies, IP basically.
Absolutely.
Was it mostly like back then? Were you guys acquiring IP, or were you more interested in acquiring the people that ran the business?
IP.
Yeah.
And then not long thereafter, you started looking at, there was new business models emerging where you saw larger companies trying to get into the professional services space. That's when that all started to...
Yeah, Cisco completely pivoted out of hardware.
Yep.
All these hardware plays, there was a vacuum of infrastructure in the late 1990s. And so the reason these big hardware companies made such a good run on Wall Street is they had to push out all this metal, into the network, fiber, all the infrastructure. But then we kind of like hit a critical mass.
Right. All
this hardware's out there, and they realized they had all these value-added resellers out in the marketplace, right? And these guys were the ones that were actually basically the service folks, right? They would go out and do the installs and everything. And Cisco's like, and I guess 3Com probably is like, holy shit, like we're leaving all this money on the table. Let's just completely rethink how we do this. And they started to bring this stuff in-house. So were they acquiring was 3Com in that space at the time, were they acquiring a lot of the sales and service apparatus also?
Yes. So they were diversifying their portfolio from an IP standpoint and offering standpoint. And then they went to, Cisco just did this huge deal with KPMG, so we better get on it, right? We better have a professional consulting
Yeah, it was keeping up with the Joneses, like literally. Yeah.
Totally. And we were getting our butts kicked, honestly, And we had a 3-person VC team to like canvas the world.
So it's you and 2 other people? Okay.
Yeah.
That must have been fun though.
It was fun. One day you're buying, say an audio, did I do that to them? Okay. An audio company in Boulder, Colorado, and the next day you're saying, you better go to England and go buy like Pace.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so you guys would actually go in and do the due diligence then too.
Absolutely.
All right. So what was the composition of the team?
That would do the due diligence with me?
Yeah.
You were lucky to have a team.
Okay. And was there somebody that was like super technical that kind of could, smell a turd if it was a turd or not?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
And so, but because we were all stretched pretty thin at that point, we would take our concerns to the one guy on our team who had that expertise.
Okay.
So, but you got pretty good at it pretty quickly at being able to figure out what, where the skeletons were buried.
That's really cool. And then, okay, so after 3Com, what happened? What'd you do?
Oh, well, I mean, there's a whole bunch of stuff before that and a whole bunch of stuff after that. But, to kind of put it in a nutshell, besides the detour back to large business, i.e. 3Com, I started out in manufacturing, like Ingersoll Rand. Well, it was way back in the day, like right out of college. Raychem in their cryogenics department. And then I don't even know if I can keep all this straight. And that's the stuff that's not even on LinkedIn. That's how old I am.
But you're probably bouncing like every, 3-4 years tops?
Yes, correct.
Yeah.
But then I landed in something I really liked. And it's not that I didn't like these other things, but sometimes you got on the same team as a bunch of people moving to like, hey, we need to go to this startup, or hey, we need to go to that.
I saw that a lot too.
So,
in my career.
and that was awesome.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed that. And had that not been, I would not have had, say, a company bought by Microsoft and been assimilated. I wouldn't, ended up working for Microsoft for a while. And, but I landed in aviation.
Whoa.
Yeah. I mean, I've done underwater robotics. I've done aviation. I've done, software, hardware, networking, consumer electronics. But that is the beauty of living in the Bay Area, right?
A lot of companies.
Absolutely. A lot of companies, but a lot of opportunity to try those things.
Well, during that time also, I'm glad you brought up this kind of like, there's this almost transient, kind of vibe in the community to like just bounce around jobs and also be tribal about it and move around.
Absolutely.
Because there was really a big power shift culturally happened because of that, where in the old school 1950s model of how an employee and company relationship works, it was no more about the employee feeling, betrothed or beholden to the employee feeling beholden to the company and the company having all the power. It actually, the differentiator in the market at that point, especially in the Bay, and I think it still rings true today, is really about the brains, the collective brain trust that you have. And that's when you start to see, all these crazy, health packages arrive and all this other stuff. And, that's part of it. But there was also just this trapping mechanism like Google. If you go to Google and you get out of your car and walk on campus, if you work there, you really have no reason to leave. They have everything there. So
absolutely,
they want to maximize your time there and give you as few reasons to leave the campus as possible. But it was really an interesting time to be alive in that space, because I think I got in there like 99. So I think I probably enjoyed some of the stuff that you guys probably ground on for the 5 years before I got there.
Yeah. So I hit the startups right after VC, because that's where I got the startup bug. Because once I worked for a venture capitalist, I called technology funding in the early 1990s. By 92, I was already like, I want to go do what they're doing, right? But as I'm listening to you, I'm going to interject. I'm going to interrupt myself, because what you asked me earlier was a question. Well, were they looking to buy the IP or the people? And then you start talking about the culture shift, and it just reminded me of the question you'd asked previous. And the reason why I'm bringing it up is because it was truly, the IP was the company previous. If you're thinking like Big Blue, I'm old, sorry. IBM is Big Blue, sorry. That's where all the IP would reside. But
in the company.
Right, in the company.
Yeah.
Whereas we learned in startup jungles, right, that, all the IP resides with us.
Yeah.
And that's where that huge culture shift. So we could take our teams and go anywhere and go do really cool things.
Yeah, and this is why also at that time, right before the .com thing blew up in 2001, was it?
2001.
2001. You were getting like $5 million valuations, literally with a 10-page presentation.
Yeah, and 3 people.
And getting funded, because it was the perception of the brain trust could figure out this model, and we better fucking do it, because if we don't, somebody else is going to do it.
And we did most of the time.
Crazy times.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah.
It was great.
Yeah, it was, but it's, I look back on it and kind of laugh, because the infrastructure just wasn't there to scale like it is now. It's gotten so much easier. I think somebody actually pointed that out. Was it the guy at Growtech actually had a slide on that.
Yep.
It was like 33 times cheaper to start an internet-based company now. Yeah, because before, if you God forbid, you have a product that's web-based and you actually get users, that's when the shitstorm happens, because
servers weren't big enough
back then.
Exactly.
Yeah, dude.
Scaling.
There was no concept of an autoscaler, for one, where you have a single. Think of it as you have a piece of hardware, which is like your dumb workstation or whatever, and let's say its total capacity for dealing with internet requests is 100, right? Once that machine peaks out at 100, it just stops taking new requests. So the first 100 people to show up and get their web page delivered, the 101st person that comes doesn't get their web page delivered. So you would have to, as a company, build, every single layer of software to make that scale, to add the second machine on to take another 100 requests.
Racks.
Whereas these days, and this gets super expensive, because not only are you dealing with hardware, but you also have to deal with the support staff on the hardware, the guys to build the middleware to do all this stuff, load balance the requests, all this other shit, plus the front end, plus your business, right? But now we have like Amazon Web Services and Microsoft and all the others. It's a black box. I prop up my business and they auto scale and do everything else behind the scenes. So
it's a max unlimited.
Yeah, theoretically, yeah. I mean, it really is. I mean, the entire internet runs on 3 companies right now. Most of it.
Right. When you talk, Yeah. I mean, think about
the
all
infrastructure.
the infrastructure behind it. I
So
don't know how many-
Google, Amazon, Apple, or
Google, Amazon, Microsoft, or the main three.
that have all the servers.
Yeah.
they-
and I
but
know
they
I'm
can't-
missing
But they
something.
can't do anything without Seagate.
And that's hardware, right?
So if that goes away, so does the cloud.
Yeah. So it's pretty wild, man. What's happened in a very short time.
Very short period of time.
And I've made
So 20 years.
20. Yeah. So your cost to start an internet company's gone down like just. Well, I'll put it in real terms. So I worked at a startup from Intel and SAP, I think called Pandesic, and the goal of that company was to build effectively a Shopify, just to be able to sell shit online, right? But they had to do the full stack all the way down to the hardware and all the way up to the website. Millions of dollars to do an integration. You need to be on that platform. Literally, like it was $3, $4, $5 million to do it. Today, Shopify. $29.99 a month.
And you can build it in one day.
Yeah, you can if you wanted to not do a custom theme, sure, you can grab a theme out of their theme store. It's insane, and all the logistics is dealt with, drop shipping, all that. It's crazy. It's amazing what's happened in 20 years, and this is why when I make assertions on the show that AI is going to take over a lot of jobs in 10 years. It's because I have this 20 years of context to know what can happen, and it's accelerating also. So 10 years is actually probably too long out. It's probably going to happen even shorter. I don't know. But anyway, I went off there. I
Back to Eva.
I just love tech. I hate it and I love it.
Well, yeah, it's an oxymoron that way. Yeah.
So you were going around. You did a lot of different jobs like I did in that time period, it sounds like.
Yeah. I mean, so the first gang that I hooked up with, right, the startup gang, and we went off and did many other things, was at 3DO. I don't know if you've heard of that company.
I do. God, what did they do? Tell me what they did.
Video
again.
games.
That's right.
But we also did the software and the hardware. So that doesn't happen today, right?
Yeah. Was it a platform play then?
Yep.
Okay, so what video games were built on top of it that listeners might know?
Oh, they wouldn't know any of them.
Just name.
Chad might.
Try one or two.
Road Rush. Road Rash.
Oh yeah,
Road
everybody
Rash?
knows Road Rash.
Okay.
You
Road
played
Rash.
Road Rash, right?
Of course.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Yeah,
Road
yeah.
Rash was on that platform.
Okay.
So, but back to the gang.
So what, you guys had a group of people that you liked to work with.
Yeah.
And everyone got along, and you guys would go from startup to startup. If something hot popped up, you would jump over.
We'd all call each other.
That was a big thing.
And you would just bounce on whatever you guys were working on.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That seems so crazy to me.
But in a way, it was like we would get to the point where it's like, okay, we can kind of see where the end road is, and we know that we could jump ship now and not feel like we're
abandoning the company at a critical point.
Exactly. And that was, so I was one of the first. I was there for quite a long time. I was there for about 4 years, and then I had this great opportunity.
That's
to go
an eternity, actually. 4 years at a startup.
It was.
Yeah.
So in '96, I had the opportunity to go to a little startup that nobody had heard of, and everybody thought I was crazy, and I went on my own, called NVIDIA.
They do graphics.
That's like mic drop.
Yeah, they're huge. Like they do basically any graphics cards that's in
Any computer.
any machine that's running like high end graphics. That's a hardware play, and they do the software obviously too. But I mean, yeah. You went to NVIDIA. You're like what?
I was
what number?
I was director of developer relations.
What employee number were you?
I was employee number 27.
Holy shit.
And had I been smart enough to stay there longer than a year, because I left after a year,
Yeah.
I would not have to work for the rest of my life.
So you didn't take stock options?
I'd only vested a quarter. Yeah, I would not had to work for the rest of my life.
I bought Apple stock it was like in the late 90s, and I think I bought it for like $22 a share, and I sold it for $56 and thought I was just good. I held onto it for like 2 years,
Right.
or a year and a half, and it would be worth, a very nice house today, possibly a lot more.
I had
because it split multiple times, and it was, it's like,
Yeah.
My wife's friend, she worked for a startup. She was Silicon Valley, kind of did what you did, boom, boom, boom. And my wife's friend's sister, she worked for a place for 2 years at a startup. Completely forgot she had all these stocks. Like 8 years go by. The company split, sells. I mean, she gets a fat check. She's in Hawaii.
Sweet.
probably got three 22-year-old guys just
it's unbelievable. But you hear stories like that.
Yeah, it's true. But then on the other hand, you also meet people who've got enough.
Lost a lot of money.
Or just, have enough worthless pieces of paper that they could, wallpaper their house with it.
Sure.
But I left there because I got called by the gang, right? They're like, hey.
Come back.
They're all like, no. They're like, hey, we're over at this new company and you need to come here.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm there, right? So we went to Web TV.
I remember Web TV.
Right. So I went to Web TV and made it all happen there, and then we got bought by Microsoft. So.
And did they just kill that product line or is it still alive?
They didn't.
Okay.
They actually recently did because it was renamed Ultimate TV.
Okay. Yeah, because I haven't been on the Microsoft platform for some time, but
me neither.
I thought it withered and died. But do you know that they were the biggest company as of like November 2019, Microsoft?
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
I just saw this infographic.
I didn't know that they jockeyed back up there.
Yeah. It's their platform. They moved everything to the cloud, Office 360, the whole thing.
Interesting.
And they've always had a really stellar developer program.
That's true.
That's from
true.
Day one.
Absolutely.
That's one thing they did right.
Yes, I agree with you there.
Yeah.
I would go into meetings and apologize for the operating system ahead of time and say, but I'm here to talk about something else.
Yeah. Okay. So you did all these different jobs, and then and you're bouncing around, and then at some point, did you just kind of like settle into something, or have you been kind of like bouncing around, and then just came up decided to move to Chico? Like what? Talk about like the last, say, 5 years.
Oh gosh. Well, let's see. Last 5 years. Before I got to Chico, I had a couple of years of living dangerously. So about 7 years ago, my youngest graduated from high school, and then I moved out to the beach for a year.
Where?
Pescadero.
Down by
Half Moon
San Luis Obispo?
It's halfway in between Santa Cruz and Half Moon Bay.
Oh, okay.
But a little banana belt there that a lot of people don't know about. And did that for a year, and I did some consulting while I was there. Well, actually, I was still working for an aviation company in Canada then.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you, what did you do? You talked about passion, aviation. What did you do? We kind of skipped right over that.
Oh, no worries.
That's my bad.
No. I mean, there's so many twists and turns. Sometimes people look at my resume.
But you said you finally found something that you have passion about.
I shouldn't say finally. What I say is I found a passion I didn't know I had.
Okay.
So how I got into aviation was in 2004, 2005. A friend of mine called and said, hey, I've found this company that's doing software for the aviation market. And they desperately need some help. Like, they don't know what they're doing when it comes to business development. I think that you could put together a department there for them. I'm like, okay. So, I look them up, like family owned, private, been around since the 70s. Okay, I'll go check it out. And I thought, well, I like challenges. So I got involved with them because it was a huge challenge. They were still making microfiche, if you know what that is, right? I'm like, there's this thing called the CD, and you can like ship that out to companies. So anyway, to make a long story short, getting to know all the different systems in aviation, the airframe, the engine, the landing gear, the propel, depending on the type of airplane, right? Those are all different systems. Nobody makes all those pieces, right? And so you had to license the rights to their content to be able to put it onto this. Because if you owned an airplane, you have to have manuals from all 12, 15, 25 different companies, right? And that's how I got to know that industry, because there's a difference between other things in the market, and I really enjoyed being taken under their wing, meaning like if somebody had been in aviation for 10 years, I would consider, I don't know what the hell they're doing, right? But if you asked somebody like say Chad, how long have you been in Gulfstream? He'd say, oh, I've been here for 22 years. And so, and start that rapport, but then also talk about where they need to take their business and how they can help shape the product that I was trying to then deliver. They were immediately invested because even though it's a super unsexy topic, it's absolutely critical, or I was going to say AOG. If your aircraft's on ground, AOG, you're not making money. If you're not making money, that's a problem, right? So you have to have certain documents that have to be updated all the time. They have to be on point. You're under inspection at any moment. So while it's completely unsexy, it's completely necessary. It's a must-have, not a want-have.
I mean, is this analogous to like a pre-flight check?
Oh, no. This is just like...
I'm having a hard time making the connection between the documents.
Which company were you with?
I was working for a company called Aircraft Technical Publishers. Okay. And they are like one of those sleeper cells that nobody knows about unless you're in aviation.
They consolidate hardware manuals?
They consolidate all sorts of maintenance manuals, operations manuals.
Got it.
FAA, service bulletins.
Regs, the whole thing.
The whole thing.
Got it.
Yeah, and it's very complicated. My partner flies. Chad's really good friend has a plane he flies.
Sweet.
When you get in there, I mean, it's like all the checks, all the books.
He's
all
like,
the stuff.
I'm almost ready for my annual. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Your pap smear? And he's like, no, asshole. The number of hours on my on his
license.
Yeah. So everything's logged, everything. I mean, a lot goes into it.
A lot goes into it. And then there's also all the maintenance requirements for your...
Absolutely.
Okay.
Right. So
everything's timestamped.
So I could see how you could
hours.
just parachute into that job, and just by being the nexus for all these different brands to like deal with their documentation, you're going to learn about every one of their businesses by proxy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And but also because they are extremely relationship based.
Yeah.
Because everything is so tightly controlled, and you have such tight interdependencies that they understand the value of relationships. And so I felt I got very, very lucky to be mentored by some really great people, and as part of that, you then become vested in their business.
That's cool.
Yeah, it was very cool. And then from there, I had one OEM reach out to me up
What's
in Canada.
What's an OEM, just for folks that don't know what that means?
Original equipment manufacturer. Out of Canada, reach out to me and said, hey, if you're ever looking for a job, I'm like, you got the money, honey. I got the time. Let's talk, right? So, they were looking for some specific skill sets that I had, and so I became their first and only, at that time, U.S. employee.
So did you feel like when you got into aviation that they were behind the times?
Oh, God, yes.
Okay,
I would argue they still...
Yeah, I would too.
Yeah.
And we were talking about fishing and boating and all the stuff that goes into electronics with boating.
Yeah.
And Chad's like, these guys are 10 years behind time.
Yeah, they're more like 30. The boating industry is a joke. So it's crazy. Their electronics are a joke.
As high tech as aircrafts are nowadays, for them to be so far behind us on technology, or efficiency, or whatever you want to call it, it's mind blowing. The more highly regulated an industry is, the further behind it will be. The longer it takes for regulations and all that stuff to get through.
And by the time they actually get approved to use something, something else is 5 years ahead, right, or more, right. And the further they can also then become behind.
That makes sense.
And it all comes down to like risk mitigation for that particular business. That's all. They're just trying to not get sued.
Yeah, well, I'm sitting there thinking, okay, here, there's a guy like that's not in the business. Most people that have airplanes are rich. They can afford high-end technology. Mm-hmm. They should have the best of the best first. Mm-hmm. But when you talk about regulations, getting sued, all that stuff, you have to be very careful.
Well,
they'd rather go with something that works than something sexy that they don't know about.
Well, there's a shit ton of people with really good ideas, I'm sure, in the space, that could come in and really disrupt the market. Problem is the barrier to entry is super high. And I'm going to assume also that there's probably some back office, you could say, alliances that would make it very difficult for a new brand just to break into the market in general. I don't want to say like price fixing or anything like that, but it would be kind of like a,
I think every
industry
space is like that.
Yeah.
They rub each other's back.
Yeah, but because this particular industry is such a high bar money-wise to get into and market into, you're not going to see a ton of innovation in there. I think what's going to happen...
Garmin came in and really... a ton.
Yeah, I think what's going to happen, and again, with risk mitigation in always at the top of the thing, the most likely thing and we're already seeing it in commercial aviation, is autopilot. We've got autopilot right now that once that guy takes off, that plane pretty much flies itself, takes a vector and gets to point B, and then the pilot has the option to land it or not.
Yes.
And you can totally tell when the pilot does it versus autopilot, and it's much rougher.
Absolutely.
And I think that the only reason it hasn't been automated is because they're still trying to figure out regulations wise, but I think technology wise we're there, and that the pilot in these cases is really more of a placebo than it is actual needed. You'll see it. I think we're going to see. Yeah, I think we're going to see it in the military first. Pilots will go away, and then that'll spill into the commercial industry.
Yeah, we're already seeing that drones, but quite a bit.
I mean,
with
drones
UAVs
that you can just put on task and go and not have a human in the loop at all. That's the whole big debate right now in that space.
Yeah, they're further along in airplanes than they are in cars. Absolutely. Airplanes have been flying themselves for 10, 20 years.
Yeah, probably longer.
Maybe longer. Cars.
So have cars. Like the big DARPA's grand challenge was in the late 90s.
I know, but not in traffic, not understanding.
Here's the deal, though.
Yeah, go ahead.
There's a whole nother topic, but with cars,
it's easy to get off track.
With cars, there's more cars on the road, more autonomous cars on the road. So every interaction that a car has, a single car, kind of like. What I mean by that is with the environment and its reaction. It's reaction to that environment variable, whether it's a positive or negative. If it's a positive reaction, it goes up into the cloud. The brain trust, the network learns, gets better. So even though autonomous cars haven't been around that long, they'll be able to get better faster because there's more data. There's more data, and they'll be able to tune the algorithms, and also you have a whole, again, this risk mitigation thing. If you're an insurance company and you're trying to get your risk score down as low as possible, it takes the most obvious thing to do is pull the driver out of the loop.
Join us for another exciting episode about machine learning. Okay, so right, we could talk about that all day too, right? No.
That's another reason why I started this show, because I just love to talk about this shit. Yeah.
Do you fly?
No, I do not.
So you were okay.
You don't?
No, I do not
At all?
I thought you would have picked it up.
I do not. I'm not a pilot. Is that what you were asking me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I thought you meant like if she John Madden and just totally against it.
No,
takes the car.
Okay, I got it.
No,
you're a pilot.
No, I'm not a pilot. I've always wanted to be one, but no, I'm not a pilot. Not yet. One day, maybe.
Sure.
No. So I'm going to finish that story now. So I went to.
Sorry, I just
that's cool.
derailed.
Speaking of cool airplanes, so I went to work for a company called Viking Air, and Viking Air bought all the TC type certificates from the de Havilland aircraft. So they have 7 different models. And these TCs were bought interim by Bombardier out of Canada as well. And they had done some. Viking, let me take a step back, was a service provider to the existing fleet that was discontinued in the mid to late 80s. And they make models that are named after all the, well-known Canadian animals. There's the chipmunk, there's the beaver, there's the otter, there's the twin otter, there's the Chinook, and then there's the buffalo and the caribou. Oh, I'm sorry. I don't think the Chinook. I think I'm wrong on that one. The caribou and the buffalo. And from where I started to finish, they're small, then they get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. The market research they did on perhaps thinking about bringing back one of the models involved probably 2 years and tons of money, and they realized that there was a market for the twin otter. And to put that in perspective, it's just like a truck that flies, basically, and it's very modular. So if you want to put Tundra tires on it and land in Libya, you can do that. If you want a cargo door and be able to drop stuff in kind of military operation style, you can do that. If you want to put floats on it and say put together a mini airline and for the Trans-Maldives, you can do that. It's really cool that way. I've worked on a ton of different projects for them. So I've done stuff for the military, for embargoed countries, for small airlines, for, say, people doing SAR.
So I'm just scratching my head wondering what brought you to Chico.
You sound well-rounded.
Or schizophrenic.
I mean, first of all, I'm stoked that you're in Chico and that you're helping out the startups. And I know you've helped me out with the fly fishing brand that I'm working on with Nick Hanna. But why did you come up? Was it just a journey in altruism to come here, or?
So going back to the years of living dangerously and trying to answer your, what did you do for the last 5 years?
Yeah.
I'll go back to that. So my husband and I also took a year off to manage a ranch in Mendocino. That was about 20,000 acres. And
Of course you did.
yeah. Well, we're both from ranching families.
Where in Mendocino?
35 miles due east of Willits.
Okay.
And how big was this marijuana farm?
I was going to ask that too. How many greenhouses?
I can show you the pictures of the buffalo and everything else.
Because we have a restaurant in Ukiah too.
What do you have?
Crush.
Oh, yeah. That's right.
Yeah.
I never ate there either. I'm sorry.
You're not my favorite. Right?
I know. But since you're a steakhouse, my husband will love you. So we will
in
be
Ukiah
there.
we are.
Well, what do you hear?
We have steaks, but we have just American food.
They've got excellent steaks.
Okay, well, I'm looking forward to
But bring him down. We got a ribeye for him. What's his name?
His name's Greg.
Okay, Greg.
And it was just his birthday yesterday, day before. So
mine's on Saturday.
Congrats.
Ask for Thomas when you go in. Jason doesn't have any pull there anymore.
I'll ask for Jason.
Look at his face.
He's like, I'm not going to give him dagger eyes right now when she's looking at me. So we did that for a year, and we would, since we're only 3 hours away from there, so
3 hours away from everywhere.
Yeah, pretty much. I lived on a 35 miles of dirt road to the ranch.
I know the area,
and it's an hour and a half to get
to Walmart in Ukiah.
No, to get to Willits.
Oh, to Willits, and then another half hour down.
Yeah, if I wanted to go to Ukiah, not my fave. No,
and then
I'm sure you had to.
So then the FBI found you guys, and then what happened?
You turned your husband in, and you moved to Chico.
No,
that's usually what happens.
It's like an true Hollywood story is about to get dropped in here.
That's usually what happens.
No,
poor Greg is in which correctional facility?
No, we did that for a year, and then that's when we decided. That's when we had the family member who needed our attention, and so we were like, hey, we're only 3 hours away, and this has been fun, and let's go do that. We have a family ranch in Four Corners in Arizona, and so we've been doing that for years, but we just had this opportunity to go do that.
A dude ranch?
No, it's a real working ranch. It's been in my husband's family for almost 200 years. Cool. Yeah, we got Black Angus, and
I love it.
Yeah.
So you guys moved.
I'll be going
to
there
Magalia.
in 2 weeks. Yes. So I'd already had the house in Magalia. So I bought the house in 2002, 2003.
You were renting it?
No,
it was just a family heirloom.
Yeah, I bought it then because it was right on a golf course, and I was right by Paradise Lake, and we had family in the area. My mom used to live in Paradise when she retired, because she had the opportunity to retire early, and did that, and then unfortunately passed away within 2 years of retiring. So it just kind of always kept the house because it was kind of a memory, and kept the house also just because it was so cheap. People like, how much do you pay for this house? I'm like, same cost as your driveway in the Bay Area.
Yeah, that's true.
Too. And property taxes are $2,000 as opposed to $20,000, right? So it's just always been a place we've loved. Always loved it.
That's cool.
Yeah. So I want to go cross country skiing. Okay, let's go up past Sterling City. Let's go. Mm-hmm. You want to go kayaking, which we do a lot. We used to do a lot of, and so everything. We just felt like it was a whole package.
Yeah.
So we came up here
because of your background, and also you lived in Paradise. Mm-hmm. What do you think? If you were in charge of revitalizing the economy up there, right? It's a bit of a chicken and egg problem, So what's the approach? Like, what would you do?
If they were smart.
And then get in the mic so we can hear you a little bit better.
If they were smart, they would have started from scratch because they had a blank canvas. Mm-hmm. It's my understanding that they are not starting from scratch and designing a smart city, so to speak. And I'm not using that glibly, and I'm not referring to what people use as kind of, euphemisms for, smart city this and smart city that. They would have literally taken the time to put in things like, I don't know, a sewage system.
Talking about just the infrastructure
yeah.
first.
Yeah,
Well,
infrastructure
they are downtown, right? If you're in the downtown corridor, they're putting in.
No, I'm not personally, but my
think there's a
property is not
section.
personally, but
The
okay.
outskirts are going to be out there, but the main area is going to be underground. All that.
That'll be nice. I hope that's what happens. There was also originally there was talk about having everything like the electrical, PG&E, etc.
Below ground.
Yeah,
Everything
below ground.
below ground.
Yeah, but that's not happening now.
It's not.
No. So that's an issue.
It's unfortunate.
Well, they seem to be in a real big hurry to get their property tax back. But even though the governor's already promised them that they will get the same property tax that they were getting for the next 3, 6, or 10 years, depending on what they needed. So,
You're talking they being PG&E?
no, the town
City.
of Paradise.
The
Okay,
city.
got it.
So that's concerning to me. There's lots of concerns. It has to do with ingress and egress. Having appropriate evacuation routes, having appropriate permitting processes, and having probably more robust building codes. That those are
Free
issues.
for all right now.
Yeah, it's ridiculous if you ask
I
me.
think me personally,
Yeah.
if I was in charge,
Yeah.
I would say, hey, we're gonna make, and I know half the listeners will not like this idea at all. Statistically, half. We're gonna turn Paradise into the Napa Valley of weed. And you basically take the wine industry business model and you apply it to cannabis up there.
Well, okay, I'll add 2 cents to that, and I'll say instead of weed, why not do hemp?
Yeah, when I say weed, I mean just
you mean anything that looks
basically
like
hemp.
Yeah, I mean, hemp's going to be in the valleys.
Hemp.
They need acreage.
But some sort of an experiential. I can't say the frigging word.
Experiential.
Yes, thank you. There's already a model in Napa Valley. Take that model, apply it to the cannabis industry up there.
It'll happen.
Make a destination thing. Cool hotels.
Oh, okay, now I know what you meant by that. Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It'll happen. I
Making
don't know
it
if
destination.
Paradise is the
Lifestyle
You can't
thing.
get in and out like you're saying.
Yeah.
Well, that's her point
tourism
about
for-
the egress, points of egress and
Sure.
ingress. If there was another way through. I mean, there is through Butte Meadows, but
Yeah, you can get through Forest
yeah,
Ranch. There's
3 or
ways to
4,
get there.
Yeah.
But it's tough.
Yeah, I think
I mean, there's no right or wrong up
Chico
there.
could be that too. The Napa Valley of cannabis probably makes more sense because the infrastructure is already in place. But something to think about.
What
I
if
think it's
Napa
gonna go
Valley
that
is
way
the Napa
eventually.
Valley eventually? What if they have
of
great
weed also?
sand- Yeah. What if you start
Weed and wine.
They've actually been working towards that. There's
I'm
actual
sure they are.
tourism around
Yeah,
that.
because you want to have
Yeah,
the
there.
people
They know how to pull it off.
and you need a built-in base of people.
This is true.
Airports, highways.
Yeah. I'm
Well,
very
again, so
pro-weed.
the first thing we talked about was specific to that question was infrastructure, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, and then it was about.
Thank you for keeping us on track.
It's okay.
You've done that
You're
4 times.
extremely
and
well.
I'm all over the place.
Yeah.
Just talking shit. But thank you. Go
No.
ahead.
I mean, but what you're doing is you're reinforcing that point in that question, right? So, in the question, so there's infrastructure, right? So there's all the different pieces of infrastructure, right? And what does that mean? And how do we do that smart this time? Then there's the actual communication routes, right? And how do we do it smart this time? And then there's communications, because that's a whole meltdown too, literally and figuratively, up there. And how do we do that, right? And to be a safer, smarter, more efficient, more destination worthy, town.
Yeah, but I mean, it wasn't like infrastructure failed in Paradise, and that's why all that happened.
No, it's like
So
yeah.
it was
There's
a perfect storm.
Yeah.
It was
Literally.
and there's so many people that are affected.
Yeah, I'm still like wondering if it's even viable to start to reboot a community up there.
Oh, it's happening.
What's
But
the plan? We need to.
That was my point. Like, if they'd started with that blank canvas they were given and doing it all smartly, right? Smartly? Okay,
You're saying like fiber to the house and stuff like that.
everything.
Yeah.
Everything.
Roads, sidewalks,
So-
water,
Right.
power, garbage,
Electric under
everything.
the house, everything.
Yeah.
More of
Yeah.
a planned community. And Irvine.
I mean, that's a shit ton of money though, and on a bet that, you're hoping that the community retakes hold, and I guess there's all kinds of things you can.
Well,
do.
and
So much
I
of
could
it.
have I could bring more business to that area since
With
I
that
do
stuff.
economic development.
Thank you. And this was,
Right.
and I'm glad you brought that up because I wanted to save the back half of this interview for that. Because you're in tech and you understand like the infrastructure and ecosystem required to attract, tech types of jobs and companies up here. Within the context of Chico, what do you recommend we do from an economic infrastructure perspective to get, if we want to get folks that are maybe, just starting a family in the Bay and are sick of the commute, how do you get those companies to maybe put satellite offices here?
Yeah, how it kind of goes back to leveraging business development skills, right? You have to go out and you have to do kind of an analysis of like who would be ripe targets, right? And of those ripe targets, who would be, what's the lowest hanging fruit? And then you put together, but you have to have a package to be able to offer them, right? You have to talk about why this is a great place to live, how this would be a better lifestyle for their employees, how there's all these other parts of the ecosystem that could support what their remote workers would be doing. You have to have a story, right? You have to have the resources to support that story. And you have to have the persistence, right, to fine tune that story to each one of those prospects. And then you have to kind of work within the confines or expand those confines of the existing resources to make all that fruit come to bear.
So is Grow Tech kind of one of the, strategically is Grow Tech one of the things that is, is there a strategy around Grow Tech in terms of having these folks come up to the IO event last week?
Actually, that was part of it. But that's more of Eva's, my personal kind of charter.
Yeah.
And it's also kind of was a test, right? Let's see if the pasta sticks against the wall, right? Let's see if we can start growing the resources and capital for this region. Because that's another part of that's part of the ecosystem that is not robust in this area. And so if I want to be able to present Chico as having the full package, I'm going to have to make sure it has the full package before I do that. There's certain things you cannot bullshit, right?
Yeah.
So that's one of those things. Because it's not just about what large companies from the Bay Area or other areas, right? Can you bring to this area and help build out with satellite offices? It's also about how do you grow other businesses as well from a pure like entrepreneurial standpoint. And people are going to go away to do that if they don't have access to the capital resources they need. They're going to go away to build out those ideas if they don't feel like they have the appropriate to use Chad's word earlier, ecosystem to support that. So I want to make sure that we got the ecosystem in place first before I can flip it.
Do you feel like the city or any private economic development organizations are thinking about this? Are they making strides towards it? Like what is your point of view on, is there a concerted effort to do stuff like this?
I believe that there was in the past in bursts. That's my impression of having kind of looking at history in the area. It's my understanding that there used to be, say, call centers that were based here for people like Google and Facebook, and those no longer exist. And so there was, obviously it's been tried and that it worked for a while. And whether for whatever reasons, again, more research I need to do on my part. So... Sorry. So that's part of the research I need to do to be able to answer that question.
Okay. Okay. Let me rephrase it then. Have any city planners or private parties approached you for any kind of consultation around this sort of a topic?
Formally, no. Formally, no.
Or Grow Tech in general?
Formally, no.
At all? Okay.
But that doesn't mean that the reverse hasn't happened. So
you guys have reached out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I just met with them last week.
Okay.
Kind of wanted to show them.
Was it a positive?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, good.
Yeah, so it was it was kind of like, the GrowTech was kind of like, oh, see what I can do? And then it was like, do you want to leverage this? You want to ride this train? You want to make some stuff happen? Then let's do that, right?
Yeah.
That was my attitude about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah. I mean, there's what was interesting is when I first bought the house up here, I flirted with the idea of living up here permanently. And I reached out to a handful of people who said they were doing economic development at the time.
In Chico. Mm-hmm.
Right? And I don't say that with any sarcasm because that was their focus. But there's different parts of what that means, and I won't go into that at the moment. Because I felt kind of strongly. I don't know why. It was kind of an intuitive kind of like, there's so much potential up here.
I agree.
Fully.
Fully.
They had a hard time reconciling my background. Well, but you've not worked for an economic development department. Yeah, but but that was what they were used to. Those are things that they looked for. I didn't fit that criteria.
Yeah.
So I just find it kind of interesting and kind of serendipitous that when I got here permanently, and started looking and started networking, that I had the opportunity to do it. So not because somebody said, oh, can you come do this? It was kind of like, I think I can make a job for myself doing it.
Chico's a trip because I've been gone for 20 years or so and then came back and, the time I was gone, Fifth Son, Lulu's, Sierra Nevadas went around before I got there, but these other two weren't, or they were just getting going. And then Clean Canteen, and there's probably one or two others.
Oh, yeah, Build.
Right. These are big fucking companies.
Oh, Incrediware.
Huge.
Incrediware is another company that people don't talk about. That's huge.
Making hundreds making probably hundreds of millions a month.
Oh, yeah.
Easy.
Oh,
right.
Right. 2000.
Easy.
Sales wise, yeah.
2015, Sierra Nevada was already a $1 billion company.
Yeah, and this is a town of 100,000 people in it, and I'm like, there's something in this area, like
in the beer.
I don't know what it is, but there's something it's very conducive to having a company. If what is it, earnings per employee?
Right.
If we looked at like earnings per person that lives in this city, I'd really be interested to see what that metric looks like as compared to other population centers of the same size.
Or per capita, because per employee
but maybe
really telling.
Yeah, but maybe like that might be something that you guys should do.
A note.
Yeah. Because there's something going on here, and and in spite of, it's like if you've got a farmer, you got a farmer, right? And he's got an acre in the back, or it's not a farmer. He's not a farmer. Let's just say he's got an acre in it. Some dude's got an acre in his back of his house.
Okay.
And for some reason, for some miracle, these these 4 trees planted that he just kind of threw seeds out on the ground and they planted and they got the best yields ever. The ground is so fertile and he doesn't know why, but it is, and it's working. So he decides to become a farmer in an orchard, and now he just like blows it out. And I kind of see Chico as that acre with these 4 big trees in it right now. I agree with you wholeheartedly. Yeah.
I mean, and that's why I think, and I probably said this to you before in other conversations, when I started doing this type of work, because I'm also a delegate for the Governor's Office of Business, and I am the Innovation Hub Coordinator for all of Northern California, which is a quarter of the state and less than 1 million people.
You just decided to throw that in the very last. Oh, by the way.
Well, of course you are.
Yeah, of course I am. When I started uncovering, like turning over rocks, right?
Yeah.
It's like, holy crap, what? I mean, here's an example. I would go back to Chico Start and talk to Wendy and say, hey, did you know that there's a company doing, nanotechnology, building out their R&D lab here in Chico? No, I don't know. Did you know that there's a company that's been here for 25 years that's doing hydrogen sensor packages for the International Space Station? Did you know that?
Nope.
Yep.
And there's a big company doing batteries here.
Really?
Really high-tech batteries.
Cool.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
that are supposed to be insane.
Yeah, it's I don't know what it is, but I mean, I'm going to assume, I think people come here, there's a really killer work-life balance here that just happens naturally because we're so close to the mountains and stuff. And if you're into the outdoors and you're into tech or whatever, it's actually a pretty good place to live. I don't know. I don't know what the secret sauce is, but I think I'm really optimistic about the economic growth potential of Chico. You know?
I am too. Yeah, and I don't pretend to know what's been holding it back. I've not done enough research there, but I can tell you whatever it is, I hope we can help move it out of the way, because I think there's so much potential for this area. I mean, like, here's some more. I'll throw out a few more for you. Did you know that there's a company in Reading doing dairy digesters, and that they are able to refine the ag waste from dairies to such a point where they can make it into transmission grade fuel and put it back into the transmission lines?
No.
Yeah.
So are you saying they're
Interesting.
Right?
they're capturing cow farts and doing something with it? Is that what you're
cow
saying?
waste.
Waste.
Cow, yes.
Oh, solids.
Yes.
Okay.
Solids.
Well, but if you've ever seen the
It's
pools, it's really liquid.
It's a fart reclamation center.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
I mean, it's like, so there's you met John, right? So there's biotech now in the area.
Yeah,
right?
talk about John's business, because we're going to have him on.
Oh,
I really dig his business.
Yeah.
I really like what he's doing.
Yeah. So John Aylesworth, who
I
comes
met
from,
him at GrowTech.
yeah, so he comes from a long line of Chicoans. And his father, if I remember correctly, was a famous columnist for the Chico ER, beloved by the community. He went away, because everybody does, because they don't want to, is what I hear.
You grew up in a small
people hear.
town, you want to get out.
Yeah.
That's natural.
Yeah. And he had the great luck to, along the lines of his career, do some research at one point outside of his normal job, and learned a lot about stem cell research and stem cell application, and found out that the most stem cells that come from the human body actually come from fat cells. And he's like, wow, think about all those people having liposuction and other things that perhaps and just throwing that product away. So, he figured it. He and some co-founders decided to start a company to extract the stem cells from the fat and then grow those cells and then turn it into products that help skin heal and things like that.
It's pretty gnarly.
Yeah,
It's
super
crazy.
cool.
that is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and that's Exogen. So,
It's just
giving a shout out to
Yeah.
John. Right?
Yeah.
it's crazy that people think of this. I mean, I just cook food, and I think that's complicated.
Well, it is.
And
It
it's
is
like
a complicated dance. My oldest is a
restaurants
chef.
are complicated.
Yeah.
They are. But then you talk about this.
Right.
You realize how small.
Yeah.
everybody really is.
He could have one of the only women's also men's skincare products on the market that actually
Does what it says. It's
does
gonna
what
do.
it says it's doing. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
not
really,
selling.
really interesting.
What has he said? We're not selling hope in a jar.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But he realized that he had to follow the money first before he could go into more ortho kind of applications. And the money is in dermatology and with estheticians.
Yeah, because they're looking at like doing scar regeneration.
And
things like that.
I am
Which Kenley needs.
Yeah, his daughter had this horrible accident on a treadmill.
She almost lost her foot.
She got pinned. How did it?
Yeah, she got.
It was bad.
her foot pinned.
An older kid told her to sit on the treadmill, and she figured out how to start it, and it whipped her back against the wall. But her foot got caught between the tread and the
Pinned.
wall, and it almost took it off. And that was when she was 2. But the scar is there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's
And
big.
I mean, it is like, and
Gnarly.
you
Big
think,
as a
okay,
plum.
I'm like my dad. I'm like, oh, my little girl's not gonna be able to wear heels. They're gonna, because so
I have a huge.
let's hope this.
The top of my left foot has got a scar like this big. I wear heels. I don't care. I mean, we'll wear painful shoes just for the heck of it.
Yeah.
But she can walk, right? Let's get back to what's real. She can
Yeah,
walk.
She can walk.
She's had a full
100%
recovery.
functional.
She didn't walk for a couple months, but she can walk now.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, now
Same
she
here.
just likes to tell the
I
story.
bet she'll never run on a treadmill as long as she lives.
Nope, she hates treadmills, which Dad does
Well,
too.
they're a little scary. They're probably a little scary for her. I put a
Yeah.
chainsaw through my foot. Like 2 years ago.
Nothing would
Holy
surprise me from
shit.
you.
I'll stop.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and I'm fine. So
This is what in your lumberjack career.
when I was at the
Now I know why you wear
ranch
cowboy
in-
boots.
Yeah, no, that's not the only reason. Just because I'm lazy, don't have to think about it. So I'm sorry, we got distracted. But
Bring
yeah,
us
so,
back. Bring us
me
back.
again.
so
Bring us
That was me again.
yo, shout out to John at Exogen and Factor 5 Skincare, because he is doing great things, and I think there's no limit to where he can take his business.
Yeah, I want to have him on the show. I haven't reached out to him about that specifically yet. But
So
I want
you
to.
work for Chico Start, or are you
Yes.
Chico Start?
No, I work for Chico Start.
Okay.
So Chico Start is a nonprofit, 501(c). If you would like to donate, please go to.
Yeah, go ahead and plug it.
Yes, please go to www.chicostart.com. One of our many initiatives we've already talked about, which was...
You still got to do the www thing?
Well, I don't know. Think about our demographic. What is our demographic?
I don't know.
20 to 60,
Okay, there you go.
maybe
So-
70.
8 to 80, blind, crippled, or crazy.
And you'll notice that as people probably, I'm guessing you're quite a bit younger than he and I are, but it's
I'm 49.
yeah, okay. So as I get closer to 60, I think of 8
You
to
are?
80. I am 54 years old. I'll be 55. So to me, that's getting closer to
For
60.
all the jobs you've had, the ranches, the tech world, the startups, I would think a 54-year-old woman that was beat up from the 80s on would, you look fabulous.
Oh, you're very kind. You're very kind.
You know, you two are married, right?
I'm just saying it.
That's right. So we didn't disclose that early on.
No. But
So-
hey, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I wanted to,
I just made it weird,
Do a
but you
little
go.
bit about. It's not awkward.
Okay. He knows my sense of humor is dumb.
Can you talk about some of the things you're working on?
Absolutely. So one of the things that Chad already mentioned was Grow Tech Fest. And so we have an initiative called Grow Tech that has to do with kind of combining the tech community that exists here in Chico and providing kind of a culture, connection, and community. And we put this together specifically to look at how do people cooperate as opposed to compete.
Okay, for people that aren't in the industry, when you say tech community, what are you talking about? Like AMP.build,
like AMP.build.
MC squared, like
Exactly. All the
name
above.
a couple, and what do they do?
A1.
Primarily.
Okay. What does Grow
Just
Tech
for the
do?
people that don't really, a lot of the listeners might not be in the tech world. So
Absolutely.
when you say the tech industry in Chico,
Right.
who are you talking about?
We're talking about software developers. We're talking about artificial intelligence. We're talking about virtual reality. We're talking about people who are doing games. We're talking about people who are doing digital marketing. People who are
And
doing
all that stuff's happening here.
social media, communications. Absolutely.
Yeah.
All that stuff's happening here.
Yeah, so you don't know that.
A lot of people don't know.
I had no idea.
But anything that I've mentioned previous on this program specific to Chico, when I've said fintech or biotech or nanotech, or that's, you notice I'm putting a tech at the end of all those, right? Because as far as I'm concerned, tech touches everything nowadays. I mean, you could be building Italian leather shoes by hand, but guess what? You're probably going to have an e-commerce piece. You're going to have a website.
You might have a CNC machine with tech and all that. right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
See, so that's where I come. That's where I approach it from. That's one of our initiatives. Another is big relationship we have with Chico State. That's going to be bigger soon, and I'm not going to go into the details right now because we've got to finalize some. So
it likely has to do with labor, I'm guessing.
no, actually, it has to do with building an internship program for their for the Center of Entrepreneurship and having their say a select few go through our incubator program. And they're also we have a relationship with Blue Tech Valley, which is a grant initiative out of Fresno State that's focused on clean water, clean energy, and ag-related technologies. They also do, and so we're going to combine and kind of promote each other's work in that space. There's some other things going on there as well. Specific to Chico Start and what else we're up to, we have the iHub designation. I mentioned a moment ago that I'm the Innovation Hub Coordinator for the Governor's Office of Business. So our reach is now not just Butte County. Our reach is much further. So we're working with 15 different counties, of which the relationships that have matured enough in the short time that I've been doing this are probably about 5 to begin with, where we have a large enough population.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. So and that's another reason why I wanted to use the Grow Tech Fest platform to build out conversation around entrepreneurship in the region and how we could take that as a first step towards building out capital resources for the region as well, which I know I've already mentioned previously, but those are things top of mind, because if you're going to really be doing economic development on that large of a region, you're going to have those resources handy.
Makes sense.
Other things we're doing. Gosh, so much. We also have a relationship with the Kauffman Foundation, which is a very large foundation out of Kansas City. They do nothing but promote entrepreneurship. And as part of that, they have several different programs, one of which is called Fast Track, which I'm still in the midst of bringing on board.
Is this a curriculum, basically?
It's a curriculum for having a more robust incubator.
Okay, interesting.
And then separate from that, a program we were already doing and is already mature through Chico Starts called 1 Million Cups, which you've participated in with Barbless. So, and we're hoping to grow that because that's actually, even though we've had it going for a while, it needs to be on stronger legs.
What is that program?
1 Million Cups is a program that is considered kind of the front door to the community of having entrepreneurs come in and present. Now, it's not a place where they go pitch. They're not asking.
It's not Shark Tank.
It's totally not Shark Tank. And they have a small audience.
It's like the audition for Shark Tank.
Yeah. So you go in, you learn how to.
Yes. Yes. And then, but you also get solicited questions from the community to help you kind of, think or retool or have you thought about this, right? Are you doing that? I could connect you with this person to help you with you, So it's a great resource. It's an informal but great resource.
I can hear you now.
Okay, sorry.
It's all right.
I'm just going to keep my nose attached to it. There we go. So those are some of the many things that are going on.
How many people work down there, Chico Start?
There's 3 of us, and 2 of us are part-time.
And you guys have a floor. Or how much space do you have down there at the building?
A little over 2,500 square feet.
Okay.
So, and we have about 27 companies in there right now.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's a pretty good resource.
We're very lucky.
Can you expand there? Is there room?
No, there's no room right there.
In fact, you guys kind of look like you're already at the rafters. Are there any plans to relocate? Can you talk about it or no?
We've been asked by others if we'd like to go rent their space or maybe join in what they're building out and things like that. And we would love to if we had those kind of capital resources. But
I'd love to see you guys on the ground floor right downtown by the college.
Well, we're on the ground floor.
I know, but where everyone could walk by and be like, whoa, what is that? What is that?
Yeah, we're
Over
not
where
that
you're
visible.
At is not very visible.
Very true. Very true.
Let's get, because retail's going out.
Yeah.
Downtowns need to change. You can only put so many restaurants and bars down there.
Very true.
Companies like that that's going to be great. If we can, that's what I hope happens.
I would love to do that, but I actually have a really, I shouldn't say I have. We have a very good deal with the city.
I understand.
So, they've given us a very good deal.
There's always a better deal out there.
That would be great. And maybe I'll keep my eye open for that. Absolutely. In the meantime, we have to shore up our business model, though, because our business model has been completely dependent on, say, GrowTech memberships, of which there's never been a price increase in the last 3 years. Warning. And same with the coworking memberships.
Yeah, I mean, you guys should really think about doing a podcast as even a form of, you could probably get some sponsors around it,
I like your idea, Chad.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And I'm happy I'm happy to help you guys out, kind of like get that going and do a little mini studio over there.
Well, we will take you up on it. Thank you.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, definitely. Tim Sharkey, who's our day-to-day operations guy, has been wanting to do something like that, but I dipped his toe in the water. But I don't know that he's had the mentoring or the structure.
Yeah, it's not rocket science. It's something I could teach him in probably 2 hours.
Okay.
So,
but it doesn't mean that everyone's cut and built for it, or to do all the post-production.
Yeah, that's not that hard.
You can outsource that.
I think your internship, the interns could come over and do it. There's all kinds of kids in communication design that would probably cut people's throats to do it.
Okay.
To be honest.
Okay. Well, I love it. Thank you.
Yeah.
I've got a lot to learn as my role will be expanding soon. So.
Yeah, I mean, I'm honestly, I don't know to keep harping on this, but it'll be a good idea.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm down for that.
Cool.
So, Jason, let me ask you a question. Did you know anything about Chico Start before I showed up today?
I did. Okay. Chad mentioned it to me yesterday, and I Googled it.
No, he knew because we did the we did the pitch last
I
week.
did.
So.
Yeah, I didn't know a lot, but I did do some research. Chad,
Okay.
What was it? 2 weeks ago, you said you were doing a pitch. I kind of looked it up. I said, "What's going on there?"
Right.
But no, I didn't. So I had no idea up until Chad brought it up to me a couple weeks ago.
And that's really what I hear from a lot of people. No,
Yeah, I asked
because
5
Chad's
people
telling
yesterday.
everybody. No, that's not what I mean.
I do tell a lot of people actually.
No, I asked 5 people yesterday. They all looked at me like I was crazy.
Right.
So I came in today to Chad and I said, "Hey, we got to figure out, how they getting the word out there. Where's it at?" And then you tell me where the location is. Now I realize no one.
Yeah, we don't have any drive-bys unless it's homeless people. So unfortunately,
They walk by.
they walk by.
It's no
Sorry. But
yeah, that's season 1. We can talk about that if you guys would like. Ask me anything about homelessness.
what? I look forward to getting educated on this from you. I'm sure I'll get the thumbnail.
There's close to 12, 15 hours of content there if you want to know what's going on.
It's a good
1.
listen, but it's frustrating because you realize you're hopeless and powerless. You have no idea. I don't know, maybe not hopeless, but powerless for sure. Okay, let's see. We'll see.
Okay.
Let's wait and see.
Well, there are models that do work, and people can. You
There's
don't have to
only
recreate.
one model that works.
And share with me what you learned from your 13 hours of. Or 15 hours.
I'm not going to make an opinion. I'm not going to tell my opinion on air because
I have to be
even
careful
after
too,
15 years or 15 hours, I still don't really know because I don't feel like I'm qualified to make that call.
Yeah, right now there's only one model that works to get rid of homeless, and no one it turn off services. They go somewhere else. But if that's not an option, we need to have many.
It's not an option.
And I'm not.
It is not. I understand.
Right. I've never
They're
listened to
human
any
beings.
of your all the information that or interviews you've done to date. So I'm coming at this completely clean. Yeah. Did any of these interviews involve discussing the Salt Lake City model? Did any of it?
In Utah?
Yeah.
The housing first model? It's come up, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I go to that area a lot, and I can tell you the difference between before and after.
Well, I definitely think it's part of it. It's not the silver bullet.
No.
But it's definitely
Did anybody
part
else
of it.
talk about the Albuquerque model?
No, I'm familiar. Is this the mayor that drives around and picks folks up and puts them into if they're willing and able?
That's
to
how it
put them
started.
Into
Yes.
into the workforce.
And
basically.
now it's a whole department.
Yeah, I mean, there's some really
big
good
cities.
There's some really good models of it happening in pockets. And denial of service as a solution is not a solution.
I
That's
agree.
kicking the
I
can
would
down the
never
road.
want to do that. I'm just saying
But
that's still
it's happening. It's happening. It's happening in this state, and it's happening.
It's
Here
a
we
forced
go.
happen.
You guys.
We don't
are
need
gonna
to get into this.
Uncork, but well, for those folks that just fucking skipped season 1,
Well, get on season 1. There's 6 episodes, right?
There's
online.
probably going to be 7 or 8 when by the
But
time
right
it's
now,
done.
you can listen to all of them.
Yeah, I mean, it's worth if you really want to at least talk about homelessness as it applies to Chico and how it affects your personal life and business and all that stuff. Then I hope that body of work will help you do that. I don't know if it will. There's definitely. The spoiler alert is there's not a definitive answer in there because I think the answer is nuanced. But one thing I will say is that it needs to be at the federal level because of Jason's point about denial of service, right? If it's at the county level, there's always going to be counties that aren't going to do it for that very reason. That's why it's got to be at the federal level and mandated because then the burden is shared across counties and the impact at a county by county level is much lower than it is right now. Chico happens to be providing services, therefore we plus what happened in Paradise, we're seeing we're seeing the outcome of surrounding counties that have soft pockets, service denial or whatever. They come here, of course. I would too.
Yeah, I understand.
It's got to happen at the federal level, but to your point, Utah and Texas, there's
Albuquerque.
So yeah, there's Albuquerque, New Mexico,
And that's just a great word to say, Albuquerque.
Right.
Yeah.
I know.
There are models out there that are working. It just these need to be scaled up.
Yeah, and actually, I'm not saying that everyone that should adopt that or this. I think there is a combination of things that can be the different, different things that can work in different areas because some areas don't experience all the same issues, although I'm sure that there's probably 70% that are shared, right? 70% of the same issues go on.
I think they're pretty common.
Yeah.
Yeah, California's got it kind of the worst, so I believe. People are moving here from everywhere.
Well, I mean,
the weather, you got
it's the weather is the main thing, and then also we politically,
services.
yeah.
Weather and services determine. I mean, if I was homeless, I'd go to where the weather was comfortable and the services were high.
Yeah.
I understand it. Now we have to figure out how to help them.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think, Susan, anyone that's got, you go on Facebook, there's all these groups. And they're all talking about homeless, and they're scared, and you got soccer moms that are scared, and you got people that don't want to come downtown, and you got people that don't want to go to Kmart, and you got everyone's worried about their kids riding their bikes in the park and 1 mile. Listen to season 1. It'll give you at least information on what's happening, what the city's trying to do, what things that are in place. At least you'll be informed with facts rather than all the stuff on Facebook.
Yeah, and then, we got an election coming up next year, 2020.
Thank God.
Exercise your right to vote.
Please.
I'm just trying to put the info out there so you can make an informed decision, because I don't think our current model of information dissemination is working, i.e. op-eds, editorials, news clips on the a 3-minute segment on the news.
Maybe we should do a podcast on Facebook with the council.
Facebook echo chambers. This is not good stuff.
What did you say, Jason? Maybe we should do a podcast on what?
On all the people running.
Well, we intend to.
Oh, good. That would be fantastic.
Try.
I was setting Chad up for the
softball, right?
And you hit it.
Nah.
So
that's okay.
We're going to try.
I
want to have every single person that comes out of the woodwork to run for council next year. We'll have, we'll figure out what the key policy things are going to be,
right?
And go through policy. I don't want to talk politics.
No, we'll hammer, we'll grind, we'll try and figure out who's doing what.
And we'll talk to them for an hour or two, or however long it takes to get everything out of their head.
Might take longer than that.
There's there's a little segment on NPR right now where they take the different candidates for president, and they take undecided voters, and they let them, and they just record them talking, and asking questions. I mean, it's really, I think it's great because they're not going to be in their usual hi, I'm in debate mode, right? And they're getting real questions from real citizens and no filters.
Do you know how refreshing when you said undecided voters? That was refreshing. You rarely find an undecided voter anymore.
Well,
everyone a lot of people.
There's 5 states, I would argue, that are.
There's a few swing states out there left. Absolutely.
Well. Yeah,
it is rare. I mean, admit it's rare to hear an undecided voter.
Well,
either you hate Trump or it's.
Or you hate Hillary and her emails.
Yeah, I mean, Hillary's going to be your excuse to vote Republican for the next 20 years, but I get it.
Yeah, it's so irrelevant. That whole Hillary angle, right?
I think at the end of the day, it's all, this country's run by PACs.
PACs.
Did you watch that great documentary called Dark Money?
Not yet. It's on Netflix.
Is it good?
I don't think it's on Netflix. I mean, it might be. You're talking to somebody who doesn't pay for cable. I don't watch TV hardly. And occasionally I watch something on Netflix. Yeah. It's normally Park and Rec. But
YouTube?
No, not much. I'm just so busy.
Where'd you see this documentary?
I haven't seen the whole thing yet either. But the guy who did it was out of Wyoming or Montana, one of those oil states. And he followed the money. And that's what that whole documentary is about. And it's, and from what I saw of it so far, I won't blow it from what little I have seen, but I'll tell you that it's like, holy.
It's called Dark Money.
Yeah, and it's Dark Money.
Yellowstone gives you a little piece. Have you heard of Yellowstone? It's on Amazon Prime. It just kind of shows you what big money.
That's that drama, right?
Yeah.
You've been telling me to watch that.
And maybe that's what I'm talking about.
Maybe I need to watch it.
Because it's all about the dark money. It's all about the super PACs, right?
No, Yellowstone's Kevin Costner. They own a big ranch.
Sorry.
Tatanka.
He uses his money to control politics all over the state. He just appoints people in this. And so it kind of shows you what big money did back then. But
it still does. Right.
And I'm sure it does, and we don't even know it.
Well.
Or we know it, but.
We know it.
Yeah.
I'm so sick of our political divide and the red team versus the blue team, like we're fucking football teams. It's just annoying. Missing that.
I couldn't agree with you more. I think it's ridiculous. I also
sells ads though, and that's what I don't know. It's a whole nother.
I think that I guess I think that people, I keep thinking that people are smarter than this. Like, why are they getting sucked into this stuff? I mean, why are they allowing this why are they watching Fox News 24 hours, 24/7?
Or CNN.
Or CNN, or whatever. I mean,
It's
why?
an addiction. For people over 50.
This is true.
This is true.
It is unbelievable.
And it's what's interesting to watch, whether it doesn't matter what team you're on, right? What color team you're on. It's interesting to watch is the people who do subscribe or, are addicted to this kind of cycle, to watch their fear increase. That is what I think, and that's exactly what they want to have happen, whoever they are.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, I mean, marketing's based on fear, right?
Yeah.
You pose a problem that may or may not exist, and then your product or your whatever it is you're trying to sell is the solution.
Mm-hmm.
This is marketing 101.
Fear is a killer. If you let it start creeping into your life, and most people do after the age of 50, they let fear creep in, and it's a killer.
Yeah.
And what my question is this: so let's talk 50 and older. They're the big Fox News, CNN people.
Right.
As those people get older and pass on, are new listeners taking their spot at the same rate, more or less?
Well, that's a good question. I think that there's a fringe, in my humble opinion. I think there's a fringe that are even either more this way or more that way. And for those who can't see what I'm doing, I was moving my arms to the right and to the left. I think there's the fear, the centrists' fear, right? Even if they're not sphere, but fear, centrist fear in those camps. But I think that there seems to be, I know,
I just would hope these listeners would, it's a terrible deal.
Okay, so we're in a really dark spot. But what I will say is, like, podcasts are really taking off. Like,
absolutely,
that's undeniable if you look at the numbers. And I think they're taking off because people are actually wanting a little more substance out of their political discourse or whatever it is. They want to learn maybe in a different way, not a 1950s educational model. So that's a positive trend in my mind, seeing that happen.
I had lunch yesterday.
I got faith in humanity.
I had lunch yesterday with a 23-year-old and a 40-year-old.
Where at?
Baccio.
Okay.
Sorry.
I love Baccio.
Not at Crush.
We don't open for lunch.
Okay.
I love Baccio.
Me too. And plus, it's a beautiful day. We got to sit outside, and I'm starting another initiative called, Chicas in Tech. So the 23-year-old said, "I love podcasts." I said, "Me too." Right? And I go, "Why do you love them?" She goes, "Because I can do them while I'm doing other things." Right?
Time
and I'm
shift.
like, exactly. That's exactly. Now, I love to read and love to have that time to sit down and read. And I like to read physical books. I don't like to read on a Kindle because I like to annotate and I like to, mark my dog ear my page and that kind of stuff. But I find that I get, in the podcasts I do have time to listen to, I get fully engrossed in it, right?
Absolutely.
And so...
Yeah, sounds like we're all three podcast listeners.
Nonstop.
We've drank the Kool-Aid. But, I find them to be valuable for learning things I wouldn't have otherwise learned. I mean... It's incredible. I'll help you like a kid. Like, I'll go, honey, guess what I listened to today?
And you learn at a very, very deep level without a whole lot of effort. And like you're saying, you can learn in a time frame where traditionally it wasn't something you could do, like in the car, on a commute, things like that.
And while you can't
Doing
interact
laundry.
with it, you can't interact with them, but you can share what you've learned. Because you've learned enough to share, right?
Well, I mean, we get on the Fly Fishing podcast, we get direct messages all day.
Oh yeah,
every day. So there is some. You can do some dialogue happening. You just don't see it online.
Chat, right?
Yeah, but when I'm with my friends and we're hanging out or doing something, we're talking about which podcast we just listened to. Yeah, I got 2 for you. I'm texting them out. It's cool.
It is getting back to actual real social discourse, and people are putting more. I think down the road, people are going to put more value on that. And we're going to see editorial shift back to this. I think you're seeing it with the New York Times in terms of the daily podcast. It's really good because they basically have their reporters that are on their different beats, and they'll just come in and they do their thing, regardless of whether you think it's a rag or not. It's that editorial process that's important to look at as a model going forward. in, other spaces, other publications and whatnot. I just think like a lot of the news today is architected to sell advertising, and the architects are the editorial teams.
Yeah, no, that's a good way to put it. That's a good way to put it. I don't know that people think about it that way, though.
I certainly do.
Yeah.
I get all my news from Facebook, and I believe everything on there.
Oh, well, I mean, is there any... How would you like to be Zuckerberg right now?
Oh, poor guy.
He's got both of his nuts just roasting on a fire. It's
Poor
so
guy.
hilarious. He fucking deserves
He
it.
handles it well, though.
No, he doesn't.
I think he's on the spectrum. There's a certain,
He handles it better than most. You see him up there. He, I don't know. I couldn't be under that type of pressure.
When you're a sociopath, like that kind of pressure doesn't really affect you, though.
Yeah, I haven't watched any of it, so that's because that's like for me and what little time I do have, it's in the zero interest. It doesn't mean I don't understand its implications. I'm clear on its implications, but I'm not going to take some time to watch it.
Yeah, I've just come full circle on Facebook. I used to think it was a great thing, and it was for a while, but I think they lost their...
There's a lot that's useful for me.
Their focus.
There's a lot that's useful for me on it still, but a lot of us are moving to MeWe and that kind of stuff. I don't know if anybody else.
I'm still on
it
it just because I got some business stuff on it, but I've been grappling.
Yeah, I'm on it much less. When I look at my usage on my phone, it's totally switched Twitter, Instagram, podcasts.
Most of my Facebook usage is groups. I'm hardly ever in my feed.
Yeah, I'm in groups too.
Hardly ever in my
That's
feed.
interesting.
And they're around hobbies. They're not around like political stuff. It's hobby focused.
Yeah.
So Facebook's has value in events. Like I think their events stuff's great. And the groups, as long as you use groups wisely, it's like Uncle Ben, with great responsibility or great power comes great responsibility. Same way, you got to like self-edit on Facebook, because there's lots of there's 8 doors. There's 8 doors in the room, and 2 of them, when you step in, you could fall into the basement. That's Facebook. Yeah,
I'd have to say I use it for groups mostly too, and because I'm still tied to a lot of the campfire recovery groups, so I'm either trying to help someone or see where resources need to be allocated, or because there's other things I do through my church that so.
And that's funny. So the 3 of us, we probably have a much different social circle. We all use it for groups.
Yeah.
So that's probably the direction it's heading in. Yeah. The lone wolves out there with political rants or whatever it may be, they're probably going to phase out.
I think so.
And the groups are going to be where it's at.
Well, on a higher level, I mean, you think about it from affinities, right? When you think about the word affinities, whether that's your hobbies or your interests or your political leanings, etc.
Political groups.
Yeah. And so that's how a lot of the push for the internet back in the 90s was first pushed out, because they thought that's where it's really going to take off. And they were right. Yeah. It's been an interesting... for us old people. Yeah,
I think that the litmus test for whether or not you're in a good group and you're trying to figure that out, if it's a healthy group to be in, would be if you post something and most people agree with you.
No,
then you're probably not in a healthy group, right? But if you post something and people are like, "Well, do you think about it this way or that way?" and there's a civil discussion happening, then you're probably in a good group.
Yeah.
And most of those
are tough to find.
Exactly.
Because you got a lot of keyboard warriors and they just mess with you. Yeah, I see people post in all the groups, and I can name a bunch of people that we all know that they just start tagging their friends, gang up, bully. That happens too much on the internet.
Oh, agreed. Agreed.
You wish there was a zapper or something that they could go through the keyboard and
people so often want to be right as opposed to learn from each other.
Social bullying is real, though.
That's a good point.
Oh, absolutely.
And it can be harmful.
No, I agree. But we all have the opportunity to turn that off.
Yeah, and so, Chad
turn that being the phone I have in my hand for those that can't see.
We went on a fishing trip out in the middle of Idaho. There was no phones.
A fishing trip? Well, that's hard to fit.
Okay, there was no phones, no email, no nothing. You couldn't even pick your phone up. My favorite week of the year.
Right.
It was 20 guys around a campfire. We were forced to talk and interact.
Naked in hot springs each night.
No, you know when you're talking to people and all they're doing is looking at their phone?
Yeah. I'm like, don't make me smack you.
But out there, it was kind of like, this is what it's supposed to be like. So I think we should all take a week a year and put the phone away and go on a trip and enjoy each other.
I think just go sit by a campfire
Well, see, so out at our ranch, I take
crazy shit
lots of
happens
friends
when you
out
do
there,
that.
and there's like no internet connection, and until recently we had to pump our own water still too. But it's great, and you can see the Milky Way, and like it's brilliant because there's no light pollution. It's anyway. I digress.
Anyway, I think the last 20 minutes of this pod went off the rails, but I
Yeah, it
hope
was
it
fun,
was still,
though. It was
still
enjoyable.
good.
I do have to get to work.
Oh yeah, and I want to go home.
All right.
I'm gonna come in tonight and eat. What do you guys?
Hopefully with Eva and Greg.
What's your special tonight? I was getting the vibe you wanted to come alone, but
No, I like Greg. I haven't met him yet, but I feel like I like the guy.
Yeah.
He's got to be a tough son of a bitch because he's got a powerful wife,
Oh
Yeah.
no. I am a teddy bear. Believe me, I am just a big mush for him.
well, I want to say, personally, with the barbless stuff, thank you very much for the help and your insight. It's been super,
Okay. Well,
useful.
that's what I'm here for. I want to see everyone succeed. I want to see everyone move in the right directions. I really, specific to barbless, because I don't know anything about AMP.build, I really see it being it's going to be huge. If you guys can pull it off, that's the way I sell it to everybody. Like when I'm talking to investors, like these guys can pull it off, man. It's going to be huge.
Yeah, we're going to show you. We're going to
get in while you can.
Well, if they're smart, they get in early. But we'll talk more about.
We're going to try our best.
We're going to talk about how we're going to refine your presentation later offline.
Chad is not. He probably needs.
I'm not a sales guy.
He's
I need
not
a sales guy.
No, it has nothing to do with him. It has everything to do with how the information's presented. And yeah, we will add a little bit more of the Nick spice in there, right?
Yeah, I would agree.
Cool.
Not that I don't love
harsh.
Chad.
That was harsh.
We're honest.
You can let him get away with that?
We're honest with each other.
Well, thank you guys for listening to this episode of the podcast. If you enjoyed it, leave us a review. If you didn't like it, leave us a review. But please tell me why. Leave us. I said, what else, Jason?
No, I
Come
like
on.
that. I was hoping we'd see, are you guys on social media, Instagram,
Oh, yeah.
Twitter?
We talked about when we were wrapping up the first time before we went off and tried to solve social media.
Yeah, how did we find you?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So Chico Start. We gave out the web address earlier, right? ChicoStart.com, growtech.io, Eva at ChicoStart.com, Tim at ChicoStart.com, and Wendy at ChicoStart.com. We're also involved with a lot of other initiatives. So if you do kind of hashtag Chico Start, you'll probably
Stuff
find
will
us
come
along
up.
things.
Okay,
Stuff
cool.
will come up.
Right.
You guys do? Yeah, you have a website.
Yep.
If someone wants to talk to you, come on down, knock on the door.
Absolutely.
Open door policy.
Absolutely, we do. We do.
And Jason, thanks for coming on.
I appreciate it, Chad.
And co-hosting this with me. Really means a lot, man.
Nice to meet you, Jason. And I'm looking forward to going to Crush.
We'll be in Crush. Hey,
Can't wait to have you.
Where's Crush, by the way, for those that
201 Broadway.
That's downtown, right?
Downtown above Jamba Juice, second story.
Kitty corner from the old, what is it? Cold Stones before they went tits up.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. We're building bathrooms. We're in the middle of construction, so it is a little messy right now, but we are open during construction.
Okay.
We're improving.
What's the ETA on the bathrooms, by the way?
Tell everyone 4 to 6 weeks. I've been saying that for a year and a half.
I know.
All right.
That's about when
Wow.
every time people ask when we're going to launch the app, I say the same thing.
Yeah.
So honestly, is it this year?
Well, we got
2019?
drywall's going in Monday.
Is it a permit issue?
Oh, we're down.
No.
Okay.
Dude, you've crested the hill.
Yeah.
You could have
You're
totally
on the
blamed it on that.
downward slide.
Well, it's a lot of issues.
Okay.
I mean, the campfire happened. We had
Right.
issues with the city.
Yeah.
Workers, money.
Oh yeah, you can't get a
Redesign.
contractor to save your life.
Yeah. So we've done a ton of we've expanded it. We've changed it. Every time you do that, the subs go away. You got to call them all back.
Yeah.
How many toilets in the men's bathroom, and can I see the parking lot?
We got one toilet, 2 urinals.
I like to have like a foot by foot picture window next to the toilet. that I
These are
can
going to
look
be nice.
outside.
We have every room is completely private with real doors and insulation, no partitions, no looking under. We
No-
got
no
suites
prison
for the
style
women.
toilets?
No prison style. We got suites for the women
Oh, shit.
with makeup centers in the stalls.
Well, you know,
What?
but
Yeah.
if I have to ask if somebody can spare a square, like how, like.
It took me a second to figure out what you were
And
talking
I thought,
about.
is she asking me for a cigarette?
No.
I know.
Like if you run out of toilet paper in
Yeah,
your
yeah.
stall.
We'll We got those toilets that do it all.
Okay.
The bidets.
Oh, you got one. You get the fancy ones.
Yeah, we
You might have
couldn't
people that-
afford those. We got the little lid that goes on it.
All right. Hey, we're digressing again.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We
so
are.
we got to get. I got to get to work.
We'll
Thank
cut
you.
this poor. Okay, the two people are still listening. Thank you for listening very much, and go eat a steak at Crush.
That's right.
Thanks, Jay.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Eva.
Thank you.
This podcast has been brought to you by AMP.build, a software and digital design agency located in Chico, California. Learn more at www.amp.build. If you have ideas or questions for the show, send an email to hello@amp.build. We may air it on the next show.